Demetrius on the stool. I heard some boxing fans saying at least he went out on his shield. He literally said no more before his cornerman waved it off. But you know what? I promised I won't accuse any boxers no more of the Q word. But that weren't going out on your shield. Let's just say that. That weren't going out on your shield. If Billy Joe jacked it, well, that was no different. If Triple D jacked it, that was no different. 2014, Demetrius' dad informed us that he won't be fighting Jermall Charlo because the 250,000 purse would be ridiculous for him to defend his WBO strap. 250,000 for a fighter who's not a pay-per-view draw. Doesn't have a fan base. That was evident by the crowd yesterday. He looked like pure Mexicans or Benavidez fans. There may have been some Charlo fans. I'd imagine Charlo got more fans than Demetrius. One thing I don't agree with what a lot of people critique him about. Oh, he never won one of his belts from a champion. There were vacant belts. Well, every belt that's being fought for was either an inaugural belt or is a vacant belt at some stage. Somebody's got to fight for the belt. What the fuck difference does it make? Vanis Marta Rosen was a good opponent to fight for that vacant strap. The issue was turning down the Charlo fight, their career-defining fights. And he's been badly managed and he's made bad decisions, hasn't he? Ended up giving up the WBO strap. Was the WBA World Super Welterweight title he won from Jack Culkay, was that a vacant strap as well? I don't know. Didn't look good in that. Didn't look good against Atlantis Fox. Was he knocked down in that fight? He's been knocked down a few times. Marta Rosa knocked him down. Gave up the WBO strap rather than fight Johnny Beck. That's at 160. Then made that weird video talking about Chris Eubank. Let's fight, let's fight.
Chris Eubanks. Y'all offer a lot of money to fight me, bro. Over $1 million. For me, it's like over $1 million, bro. We're talking like, I'm not like, it's not for the fans' sake, bro. It's for your pockets, for your dad. It's for, like, your mom, your dad. I don't know if you got kids.
Chris Eubank wasn't mandated to fight for the title. You know, it was like he was on something. He didn't seem like he was in his right frame of mind. If he didn't fight Johnny Beck, he was going to get stripped of the title. I think he vacated eventually. Then there was the debacle at 168 with Zach Parker. Like, was he too shook to fight Zach Parker and Johnny Beck? How are you too shook to fight Johnny Beck and Zach Parker, but you go and fight David Benavidez with one fight in how many years at 168? Probably realized it was last chance saloon and he blew too many opportunities. Hasn't really got much choice now. And yeah, Benavidez and his team, they picked him at the right time. Inactive, old, unproven at the weight class. And they took full advantage of that, as they should do. That's prize fighting. You've got to be an opportunist. As they should do. They've done a brilliant job. Team Benavidez. I hope Benavidez gets a shot at Canelo now. I really do. And I haven't always been the biggest fan, but this was an important win. And he got a stoppage. Big up David Benavidez. I don't want to hear from nobody that Benavidez didn't fight Andrade at his best. I don't want to hear that. Because the rebuttal is, when was his best? Huh? His best could have been against Charlo, but he didn't take that fight. His best could have been against Johnny Beck, but he didn't take that fight. His best could have been against Zach Parker, but he didn't take that fight. What did he say? I'm not travelling to the UK to fight Zach Parker. I guess he thought he was going to get ambushed by the judges. Better that than getting ambushed by Benavidez, who was a lot younger, a lot fresher, a lot more active, and a lot bigger. I can't say the word quit. I committed not to saying the word ill, but he did sit it out. And if I can't say the Q word, cue the edit.
Bite what I might get, fill up and say I quit.
The Zach Parker situation was ridiculous. You turned down 1.5 to fight Zach Parker, only to run back to Frank Warren when he had no other options. What was his purse next time round? 150 grand? Because Frank had no other competition to bid against. In the first bid, Frank was bidding against Matchroom, so he had to come up with a solid bid. But by the time the second bid came around, he left Matchroom. And nobody gave a shit about the fight. So Frank had free reign. Yeah, 150 grand. He turned it down. Should have took the first offer. Let's keep it real. If he's anywhere as good as I believed he was and many others believed he was, he should have took 1.5 to fight Zach Parker. Whether he thought the judges were going to gank him or not, should have took that money. Now, deleting is cheating. That's what a lot of people do on Twitter. But I picked Andrade to win the fight. And then I started looking at it. I started listening to what a lot of people were saying. He was inactive, he's old, he's unproven at the weight. Doesn't take the best shot. And I still couldn't bring myself to pick Benavidez to win because I just wasn't that convinced. But my final pick was, this is a pick'em fight. And it wasn't a pick'em fight. I think a more active, more battle-hardened Demetrius would have stood a better chance. And I'm going to make an honest assessment that some ain't going to like. His decisions to walk out of certain fights, his inactivity, the relatively weak competition he's fought, the sense of entitlement he's incorrectly had about how much he's worth, it left him wanting in this fight. When you get to a certain level, you have to fight through adversity. No fighter has a right to win a fight. If you lose, you lose. But quitting on that stool at the end of the 6, nah. And you're going to start quitting at 36. First real hard fight he's had for how long? I don't want to say his whole career, but a long time. When you quitting at this age here, you know, it doesn't look like he takes the best punch at the weight class. I don't see him getting very active from here. I don't see that happening, him all of a sudden having a change of heart and being active. It's a long way back for Demetrius Andrade. Long way back. Did some good stuff in the fight. He put some nice combinations together. He did. But when he started complaining to the referee about low blows and then quit, I don't know if it gets any better from here. I really don't. I feel a bit embarrassed to even have thought he could have won this fight. When I think about the inactivity and the opportunities he's had to take better fights, I feel a little embarrassed. I'm not afraid to admit that. I do. Although eventually I did say it's a pick and fight. But yeah, I still feel embarrassed. If it sounds like I'm being hard on him, this is a guy who talks very confidently like he's one of the elites in the world. And a lot of people are going to say, well, you're supposed to do that. But yeah, he's kind of like very braggadocious. And when you look at the punishment John Ryder took against Canelo, kept going till the final bell, how can I be impressed with what I see Demetrius do Saturday? How? Jose Benavidez wants a rematch, says that if JERMALL had made the weight, he would have beat him. Doesn't work that way, Jose. I mean, your dad said that he had a feeling that JERMALL was going to get on the scale overweight. So you knew this was a distinct possibility. You had your opportunity, and you came up short. There's no need to run it back. There are no excuses. Maybe if boxers stood their ground and just didn't take these fights where their opponent comes in significantly higher than the weight limit, that might be a deterrent for them not to take fights where they know they're tight at the poundage. It might be a deterrent to stop them doing that. And, you know, like, JERMALL didn't look too bad, actually. He jabbed, boxed, and Benavidez, he put up a decent effort, actually. It wasn't actually a bad fight to watch. But what JERMALL has lost is that vicious streak. And I'm not saying he can't get it back, because he did have it. He can get it back, but he needs to be a lot more active. He really does. And, like, make up your mind. Drop the 160-pound strap, or get back down there and defend it, or go up to 168. No more of these in-the-middle hybrid catch-weight thingies. No more of that. But it didn't look bad. More than it didn't look bad. It was actually an okay fight to watch. JERMALL won handily, but Benavidez actually put up a good effort. Put up a good effort. Decent fight to watch. Had a good tempo to it. ERGASHEV, yeah, he took a beating against SUBRIEL Matias for the IBF 140-pound belt. Took a bit of a beating. And, you know, I can't use the Q word, so cue the edit.
Bite what I might get, then up and say I quit.
Yeah, he quit. He quit as well. In hindsight, none too surprising. From what I'm hearing, he was saying that this could be his last fight. He's going to pack it in after 24 fights. 31 years of age, same age as Matias. Not exactly optimistic language going into a fight like this. He was unbeaten with a bag full of knockouts. But, you know, he had a few moments, landed some good shots. But when his legs went out on him, the writing was on the wall. SUBRIEL Matias, obviously, he's dangerous. 20 wins, 20 stoppages, 1 reverse. He is dangerous. But you know what he's going to do. I don't think it's the most difficult style to prep for. Try and keep him turning. But executing the strategy would be another thing. Would I like to see him get the winner of Prograis and Haney? Of course I would. To get a fight with Teofimo Lopez? Of course. I mean, that just stands to reason. Am I optimistic them fights will happen? No. That's why I don't want to go over the board talking about them. Because I don't want to go too deep into it. Oh, he's such a boogeyman. I don't want to go into that. When the other side of the debate is he doesn't speak English. The PBC haven't promoted him very well. It's risk-reward unless you can lock him in for some options. You know, if you're the other champions or the other networks or the other promotional outlets. I can't say no more than that. But yeah, I was impressed with what he did on Saturday.
Oh, Cameron just walking through them flurries. Katie needs to throw 1, 2 and get out. She can't stay there. Cameron dominating. Oh, this is really bad-tempered. It's really... Listen. These two, I think it's just competitive dislike, but you feel the hostility from here. You can feel the hostility. This is what I'm saying. People saying, oh, women's boxing. Women's boxing, when it's done properly, is flipping good. I'm not going to say it's as good as men, but women's boxing, when it's done properly, a good fight like this is bloody good.
Had a good time covering Chantel Cameron defending her undisputed titles against Katie Taylor on Saturday on a hangout. Excellent fight. I predicted Katie to win a controversial points victory and avenge her first loss. And that's how it turned out. Majority decision. I think the head clash, or the head butt threw Chantel off. The equilibrium was a little off with the jab. It was nowhere near as effective as it was first fight. Katie took the jab away at times and boxed well off the back foot with countering flurries. Chantel was always in it. And it was a really good fight. The knockdown, I believe in the second, that wasn't scored. A lot of people are making a big deal of that. If it was scored, I think Katie would have still won by a split. I think. Then the Irish press, pissed Eddie Hearn off in the post-fight press conference, talking about Conor McGregor's potential involvement in a rubber match between the two in Croke Park because of Conor's comments on the recent riots after the stabbings in Dublin, and Eddie wasn't too impressed. Will Chantel Cameron want to go back there to Ireland? You know, she got the first decision, but she won it on a majority when, in my opinion, she won more convincingly than that. I've heard a few stupid arguments. Why does it have to always be an island? Because Katie is the draw. They sold out the free arena, 9,000 tickets for an all-female clash. If it goes to Croke Park, you're talking a potential crowd of 80,000 people. Now, it's all up to Cameron how she feels about it. If she wants to get more bang for her buck in terms of cashing in while she's an active fighter, it's a no-brainer. You got to go back to Ireland. If not, she might lose out on the payday. Maybe Amanda Serrano will take the fight. If it does go to Croke Park, the issues with Croke Park is the stadium hire rates are not competitive with the likes of Wembley, Millennium, Dallas, and Eddie's got to look out for Chantel and Katie Taylor without the stadium hire taking vast amounts out of their purses. And Katie Taylor, say what you like about her, she isn't fussed either way. She'll do the rubber match with Cameron, and she's up to fight Amanda Serrano for the second time. She said she'd even do 12 threes with Amanda Serrano, no problem at all. If I'm not mistaken, Katie is undisputed at 135 and 140 and holding both distinctions simultaneously. She thinks she is Amy Armstrong. That's quite impressive. Yeah, 12 threes against Amanda Serrano. I'm assuming it will be at lightweight. WBC, they're not going to sanction it, but they won't care, will they? They just won't put the belt on the line. And they'll have a Barney, Croke Park. Speaking of Amanda Serrano, waking up the day after fights is the most entertaining. All the so-called experts come out with their opinions. Some of us have better things to do than try to play fight analyst. Have a great day, everyone. Well, people play fight analysts because they're enthusiastic about the sport. Social media and the internet gives them a voice to let people know what they think. Some are higher up the scale, some are lower. I guess when the opinions are favourable to Amanda, then it's all good. And I guess when she's got to promote a fight so she can get paid, it's all good. But anything outside that, she's not a fan of it. But you know, just like We're allowed our opinions, so is Amanda. Conor Benn. Most welterweights are running away from Boots Ennis. I'll run right into him. But there's business to take care of first. And I'm not talking about Chris Eubank. They've got to take care of the British Boxing Board of Control. They're talking about a February the 3rd date. February the 3rd, White Hart Lane. They're going back and forth on Twitter, Chris and Conor. Chris said he's a dead man walking. Conor said, remember this when they're scraping you off the fucking canvas. The British Boxing Board of Control, for most, this Conor Benn gate situation, have just sat down and did nothing, not really taking a position. Now they'll be forced to take a position. They were talking about appealing the National Anti-Doping's decision to lift the suspension handed out by UCAD. Now, the suspension was not lifted on the grounds of jurisdiction. Frank Smith has repeated this, and so has Eddie Hearn. Now, you're going to say, well, you believe what they're saying. Yes, I do, because if it was to come out that it was jurisdiction, they're going to get hammered by the media. And I just don't think they'd put themselves in that position. It wouldn't make sense. It would be counterproductive. Conor also got his ranking back with the WBC. He fought in America just the other month, where the American Boxing Commission cleared him to fight. He passed VADA tests. What more is there really? Now, Matchroom and DAZN will not want to have to use a foreign body outside of the Triple BC. But if that's what has to be done, that's what will be done. The process of determining who will hold that appeal, which the board have sat on for how long now? Since the National Anti-Doping Panel made their decision. If it isn't heard by the National Anti-Doping Panel, then the male sport understands the alternative would be the Court of Arbitration for Sports. It remains to be seen, therefore, if the board would give their blessing to the fight when they are locked in such a fraught legal situation. Well, how much appeals do you get? They make the appeal, and if the Court of Arbitration rule in Conor's favour, they surely have to back down. And if they vote in the board's favour, we'll have to see what the Court of Arbitration decide as the next course of action for Conor Benn to be permitted to fight in the UK with the consent of the British Boxing Board of Control. These are the facts laid out, no bias, although I do want to see the fight, but these are the facts, black and white, laid out. All this eggs, jokes and eggs and prove yourself innocent it's played now. It's played. Once you're popped, you don't prove yourself innocent. Even if you are innocent, you don't prove yourself innocent. You seek resolutions. When you say prove yourself innocent to who? You name me anybody who's been popped for PEDs, who got exonerated or served a ban, came back to fight, and everybody believed they was innocent. Once you're popped, you will always have the mark of suspicion like a cloud over your head. You seek resolutions. This is the real world. This is why we have courts, systems of due process, etc., etc. It's as simple as that. The egg jokes in the comment section are lame as hell. There's some real lame individuals making them egg jokes. They're not funny. And I'm not saying that like, yo, you dare not say that. They're just not funny. I think there was a couple of funny ones early back when. But it's just played. It's just played out. Do you want to see the fight or not? It's a good fight. It's going to be a really good event. One of the best events that British boxing has produced. The atmosphere at White Hart Lane is going to be red hot. That's the same stadium where Chris's dad maimed the brave Michael Watson in a super middleweight world title fight. That will never be forgot. I expect Chris Eubank Sr. to voice his disapproval at this match, as he is entitled to. I'm not sure how much influence he has on his son right now. His son seems to be intent on making his own decisions and being his own man. It looks like Harlem Eubank is Chris Sr.'s new project right now. He went as far as to say this is his son. This is now his son. These are the facts, black and white. No need to embellish, no need to exaggerate and get overexcited. The National Anti-Doping Panel lifted Conor Benn's suspension. They are the same organisation who lifted Tyson Fury and his cousin Huey's suspension back in 2016, so they could further investigate the case. The board didn't appeal that decision, but they're appealing this one. Why? It's time now for boxing fans and media to stop getting all in their feelings and deal with the cold hard facts. The lifting of the suspension is based on the evidence that Conor Benn's representatives have passed on to the National Anti-Doping Panel. The board haven't given an explanation why they're appealing the ban. They've just sat on it, which they shouldn't have done. They need to be more assertive, but they often do this when action needs to be taken. I was just talking about Michael Watson. When he was maimed in the ring, they wasn't proactive. They didn't reach out to Michael and try to work together for a solution that would be in Michael's best interests. It took the boxing world, Frank Warren, who had ulterior motives, in all truth, but it took Frank Warren to put together that case for Michael Watson, as the board found themselves nearly put into administration for sitting around and not doing nothing. But let's not dredge up old horror stories. They are now put on the spot where they will have to take a position. It's went on far too long. Way over a year. Far too long now. Dominic Ingle, who doesn't have a dog in the race, he knows a thing or two about supplements, legal, illegal, PEDs. He said people like a good story, don't they? The truth is, the substance Conor Benn took, which he had minor trace levels, he said, would probably help him impregnate his girl and have more kids. But as for benefits in helping him win boxing fights, it wouldn't be of much use. Now, strict liability is strict liability. If he was found with an illegal substance in his system, due process has to take place. And it's time the British Boxing Board of Control actually proved to us that the control in the title is functional and not just perfunctory, looking pretty, sitting there doing nothing. As for the promoters, Eddie Hearn and Callie Sowland, in my opinion, they've got a week or so to make an announcement, or it's time to abort this fight. It's gone on too long.